At 8:12 that evening, every phone at Mara's father's retirement dinner received a message. One audio file, one instruction. Don't play this until everyone is seated. At 8:14, Caleb connected his phone to the lodge speakers. At 8:16, the same file reached my largest client. Call me before this gets worse. The recording began with Mara crying. My voice followed. I'm coming to get you. Then hers answered. I knew you would. You've wanted this for years. Every face turned toward me. I had never heard those words. Mara shot to her feet, knocking her chair backward. That isn't the whole message. Her brother stared at me. Were you sleeping with her before she ended the engagement? Caleb sat beside the fireplace, his phone near his wineglass. He wore the polished concern of a man enjoying damage he could deny causing. No one is accusing anyone, he said. That was how he made sure everyone did. I was still reading my client's message when Mara's father stood. Owen, I think you should leave. Snow hammered the windows. The mountain road was closed. My truck was buried under ice. The only room left was the one Mara and I had checked into together. One room, one bed, one fake relationship that had become evidence. I should have defended myself. Instead, I did what I always did when a room turned against me. I made myself smaller. I'll go. Mara went pale. The road is closed. I'll sleep in the truck. You could freeze out there. Caleb said nothing. No one would meet my eyes. Then Nina's coat slid from her lap. A green phone struck the table hard enough to rattle the silverware. You're not going anywhere, she said. Caleb's chair scraped backward. His expression shifted for less than a second. Nina saw it. So did I. She turned the cracked screen toward the attorney. This has the original. And suddenly the question was no longer whether Mara and I had lied about being together. It was why her ex-fiancé needed everyone to believe we had. 9 hours earlier, Mara Ellis walked into my workshop carrying 2 coffees and a problem. She set 1 cup beside the breaker panel I was rebuilding. Before you say no, she said, remember that I brought the good coffee. I tightened one last screw and glanced at the label. Oat milk, no sugar. She remembered my order, even when I forgot to eat lunch. That sentence usually means you already know I should say no. Snow had started brushing against the high windows of Brooks Electrical and Heating. Outside, my 2 service vans sat under a gray sky, their ladders rattling whenever the wind pushed through the lot. Mara pulled off her gloves 1 finger at a time. My dad's retirement weekend starts tonight. I know. I'm replacing the West Wing panel next month. You're also invited. I'm working. You own the company. Exactly. My boss is unreasonable. She smiled, but it arrived tired. I put the screwdriver down. What happened? Her fingers closed around the cardboard sleeve of her coffee. Caleb is coming. The workshop seemed to lose a few degrees. Caleb Shaw had spent 6 years becoming useful to the Ellis family. He handled financing for their lodge business, remembered birthdays, sent handwritten thank you notes, and never raised his voice where anyone important could hear it. 2 years earlier, Mara had ended their engagement. 6 weeks after that, one of my largest commercial clients quietly canceled a renovation contract. The owner told me Caleb had warned him I had boundary issues with a woman who was still engaged. Mara said she would clear it up. She never did. What does that have to do with me? I asked. I need you to come as my boyfriend. A heater kicked on behind us with a metallic thump. I picked up my coffee, mostly so my hands had somewhere to go. Your real boyfriend? My temporary boyfriend. That sounds less legal. Friday through Sunday. No paperwork. I waited for the joke to finish. It did not. Mara stepped closer to the workbench. My father is announcing Caleb's new role tomorrow. He wants him overseeing the sale of the North property. The land your mother left you? Her jaw tightened. Caleb says selling it will stabilize the company. And you don't agree. I don't trust him. That was not the same as an answer. She stared at the scattered screws between us. Every time I question him, he tells my family I'm reacting emotionally because of the breakup. If I go alone, they'll spend the weekend watching to see whether I fall apart. If you're there, he can't corner me. So I'm security. You're the one person he can't make me doubt. The words landed in a place I had kept boarded up for years. I turned toward the panel and slid a wire into place. Mara, if your family believes I broke up your engagement, they don't. Your brother stopped hiring me. Your aunt crossed the street to avoid me. Your father has called me that situation twice. She lowered her eyes. The heater hummed. Somewhere in the office, the printer started by itself and spit out a blank page. I should have corrected more of it, she said. More of it. Not all of it. I waited, but she took a sip of coffee instead. That was Mara's way when a truth had sharp edges. She held it carefully until everyone else stopped reaching. What exactly are we telling them? I asked. That we've been together 6 months. Why 6? Long enough to look serious. Recent enough to explain why we kept it private. You've planned this. I panicked efficiently. Despite myself, I laughed. Her shoulders dropped half an inch. That was how it always worked between us. Mara arrived, carrying something heavy. I made it lighter. Neither of us asked what it cost me to hold it afterward. I should have said no. Instead, I capped the coffee and reached for my coat. 3 rules, I said. No lying to each other. No using me to make Caleb jealous. And if he brings up that night, you tell the truth. Mara went still. Not long. Just enough. Then she nodded. No lies between us. By noon, we were climbing the mountain in my truck while the storm erased the road behind us. Mara rehearsed our fake history from the passenger seat. First date at a diner in Burlington. First kiss beside my truck. 6 months together, but private because she wanted to avoid family pressure. You made our first kiss happen beside a dumpster, I said. It's behind an expensive restaurant. It's still a dumpster. You're an electrician. Stay humble. For 10 miles, she almost sounded like herself. Then her phone lit up in the cup holder. Caleb Shaw. She turned it face down, without answering. What did he want? I asked. I don't know. You could read it. I said I don't know. Her tone closed the subject. At the lodge, the front desk was crowded with stranded travelers. Wet coats steamed near the fireplace. A clerk with silver glasses searched the computer, while Mara kept one hand looped through my arm. I'm sorry, the clerk said. The storm canceled 3 departures. We have 1 room left. She placed a brass key on the counter. Room 12. Mara looked at me. I looked at the key. The clerk smiled. It has 1 king bed. We'll take it, Mara said. I picked up the key, cold and heavier than it looked. Across the lobby, a man rose from a leather chair. Caleb wore a charcoal coat, and the same measured smile I remembered from the day he told me reasonable men knew when to step away from another man's fiancé. His gaze moved from Mara's hand on my arm to the key in mine. 6 months? He asked. Mara's grip tightened. I had not told him anything yet. Neither had she. Caleb's smile widened by a fraction. Your brother mentioned it, he said. He seemed surprised. Mara's hand slipped from my arm. That was all Caleb needed. Not proof, not a confession. Just one small movement he could watch and remember. He reached for the brass key in my hand, turning the tag so the number faced him. 12, he said. Nice view. I closed my fingers around the metal before he could take it. We should get settled, Mara said. Of course. Caleb stepped aside. Big weekend. His tone made the words sound like a warning. Room 12 sat at the far end of the 2nd floor. Mara walked ahead of me without speaking. Her boots struck the old floorboards too quickly, each step leaving a dark crescent of melted snow. Inside, a king bed faced tall windows overlooking the frozen lake. A narrow chair stood beside the fireplace. No couch, no rollaway. Mara dropped her bag near the dresser. I told Tyler we'd been together 6 months, she said. Your brother who stopped returning my calls? He asked why I was bringing you, and Caleb happened to hear. He and Tyler were already at the lodge. I set the key on the nightstand. You could have told me. I didn't think it mattered. That sentence has done a lot of damage between us. She turned toward the windows. Snow moved across the glass in hard diagonal lines. I know, but knowing had never been Mara's problem. Saying the whole thing was. When we were 17, she found me sleeping in my truck behind the high school gym. My father had thrown me out for telling him he was too drunk to drive. I had 1 coat, $12, and a split lip I claimed came from slipping on ice. Mara did not ask whether I was lying. She climbed into the passenger seat, placed a paper bag of breakfast sandwiches between us, and said, You can sleep at our house, but my mother will make you talk about your feelings. I stayed in the Ellis family's basement for 3 weeks. Henry helped me get an apprenticeship with a local electrician. Mara's mother washed my clothes without mentioning the blood on the collar. Everyone treated the incident as temporary. I learned the lesson they meant kindly. Be useful. Be grateful. Do not make good people uncomfortable with the full price of helping you. By 22, I could rewire a farmhouse and apologize to the owner for the dust before they noticed it. By 30, I had employees, 2 vans, and a reputation for fixing problems without causing new ones. It worked until Caleb. 6 weeks after Mara ended the engagement, the Briar County Hotel canceled a $70,000 electrical upgrade. No argument. No request for clarification. The owner finally met me in a diner off Route 7. He kept stirring coffee he never drank. Caleb said you'd been circling Mara for years, he told me. Said she was vulnerable and you encouraged her to leave. I waited for anger. What came was embarrassment, as if I had somehow made the accusation inconvenient for both of us. I didn't, I said. The owner nodded too quickly. I'm sure there are two sides. There were not two sides. There was the truth and the version that cost him less to believe. I still thanked him for meeting me. Then I paid for his coffee. Mara called that night. I told her the contract was postponed. Not canceled. Postponed. She knew I was lying, but she let me. Now she stood in room 12, unpacking sweaters into a dresser we would use for 2 nights. You never told me how much the Briar job was worth, she said. You never asked. Her hand stopped over a folded gray sweater. I asked if you were okay. That isn't the same question. A knock sounded before she could answer. Nina entered carrying towels, a bottle of wine, and the restless energy of someone who had already heard too much downstairs. She hugged Mara first. Then she faced me. You look older. Good to see you too. I mean tired. Much better. Nina placed the towels on the chair and studied the single bed. So this is real? Mara answered before I could. Yes. Nina's gaze moved between us. She had always been bad at pretending not to notice things. Since when? 6 months, Mara said. Interesting. What? Nothing. Nina picked up the wine again, but the bottle tapped once against the wooden arm of the chair. I caught it before it fell. Her fingers stayed around the neck while mine held the base. What aren't you saying? I asked. Nina released the bottle. Caleb asked me this morning whether Mara was bringing you. Mara went rigid. How would he know? He said Tyler told him. Tyler didn't know until last night. Nina pulled her phone from her pocket. Caleb knew 3 days ago. She opened a message and held it out. Caleb, if Mara brings Owen, don't make a scene. She may be trying to provoke a reaction. The timestamp sat at the top. Tuesday, 9:06 a.m. Mara had come to my workshop Friday morning. 3 days after Caleb predicted the plan, she had not yet asked me to join. My first instinct was to explain it away. Maybe Mara had mentioned me to Tyler earlier. Maybe Caleb guessed. Maybe someone had seen the lodge reservation. I could feel the old machinery starting inside me, sanding the sharp edges off facts until no one had to be accused. Mara noticed. You're doing it again, she said. Doing what? Trying to find the version where nobody meant anything. Nina watched us, then folded her arms. I handed the phone back. Did Caleb say anything else? He asked whether Mara still had her old green phone. Mara's face changed. Not fear exactly. Recognition. Nina saw that too. What's on it? She asked. Nothing. The answer came too fast. I picked up the brass key from the nightstand and pressed its cold edge into my palm. You promised me the truth, I said. Mara looked at the key, then at me. I don't have the phone. That wasn't the question. Her breathing shortened. Before she could respond, voices rose from the parking lot below. A black SUV had pulled beneath the lodge entrance. Henry Ellis climbed out first, followed by 2 men carrying document cases. Caleb appeared under the awning to greet them. One of the men shook his hand. The other carried a leather folder stamped with the name of the bank financing the North property sale. Mara crossed to the window. He said those papers wouldn't be ready until next month. Nina joined her. They're signing tomorrow. Mara turned from the glass. The fear was gone now. Something harder had replaced it. I need that phone. Nina's mouth tightened. I packed it with Mom's photographs after the funeral. It should be in the archive room. Should be? Caleb borrowed the storage key last summer. He said the bank needed old property records. Mara reached for her coat. Downstairs, the front doors opened, and Caleb welcomed the bankers inside, as if the lodge already belonged to him. He had known I was coming before Mara asked me. Now he was searching for the one object she was afraid to name. The archive room was in the oldest part of the lodge, behind the banquet kitchen, and down a service hall that smelled of cedar cleaner and old radiator heat. Mara led the way with Nina close behind. I followed carrying a flashlight from the maintenance closet and the brass key to room 12 in my pocket. Dinner staff moved around us with trays and folded linens. No one stopped us. At the end of the hall, Nina tried a ring of keys against a narrow gray door. The third key turned. Dust lifted when she switched on the light. Property ledgers, employee files, photographs, and Christmas decorations filled the shelves. Mara stepped inside and pulled the door shut. "Mom's things are on the left," Nina said. "Blue storage bins." There were 6. We opened them one by one. Scarves, recipe cards, a stack of photographs bound with a rubber band that snapped when Nina touched it. Mara knelt beside the 4th bin and removed a red wool coat. "She wore this the week she got sick," she said. Nina pressed her lips together and kept searching. I moved to the next shelf. Phone case was green. "Dark green," Nina said, "cracked near the camera." The 5th bin contained old chargers and 3 dead phones wrapped in kitchen towels. None was Mara's. Nina emptied the 6th bin onto the floor. "Nothing." Mara sat back on her heels. "Caleb took it." "We don't know that," I said. The answer left my mouth before I could stop it. Mara's head came up. I heard my own habit in the sentence. So did she. "No," I corrected. "We know he had access. That's enough to stop pretending it means nothing." Nina checked the shelf labels. "There's another box." She pointed to a bank record carton above the blue bins. The marker on its side read North Property Historical. I pulled it down. The bottom had been resealed with clear packing tape newer than the cardboard. Inside were surveys, water rights documents, and copies of title transfers going back 30 years. A padded envelope lay beneath them. Mara recognized the handwriting first. My mother's. Nina took the envelope but handed it to Mara unopened. Across the front, their mother had written, "For Mara House Files and Old Phone." Mara slid one finger under the flap. The green phone fell into her palm. Its case was cracked beside the camera. Then footsteps passed the archive door. Mara covered the phone with both hands. The footsteps continued toward the kitchen. Nina found a compatible charger in the bin and plugged it into an outlet behind the shelf. The screen stayed black. "Battery could be dead," I said. "Or wiped," Mara answered. She said it without looking at me. While the phone charged, Nina searched the padded envelope. A folded sheet remained inside. It was a printed email. The sender line showed Mara's old account. The recipient was Henry Ellis. The draft had never been sent. "Dad, Caleb used my login to access the North Property loan documents. He says I approved it, but I did not. Owen came because I called him. He did not ask me to leave Caleb. He did not know about the loan until I was already in his truck." Mara reached for the page. Nina held it away. "There's more." The next paragraph was only 3 lines. "I know what Caleb will say about Owen. Please do not believe him. Owen will protect me even if I stay quiet. That is the worst part. He always does." Mara's eyes moved to mine. I had expected proof that Caleb lied. I had not expected proof that Mara understood exactly what my loyalty would cost me. "You wrote this when?" I asked. "The morning after, and you didn't send it. My mother was in surgery. The bank was reviewing the expansion loan. Caleb said if Dad learned the North Property had been used as collateral, the bank could freeze everything. So, you let him tell people I was waiting for you. I thought I could correct it later. You wrote that I would protect you if you stayed quiet." Her thumb dragged across the split in the phone case. I hated myself for knowing that. "That didn't stop you from using it." Nina lowered the email. Mara absorbed the sentence without defending herself. It did not make the sentence hurt less. The phone vibrated against her palm. A white battery symbol appeared, then the lock screen. The voice memo app was still open on the lock screen. Mara had started recording Caleb before she called me from the house phone. She had put the call on speaker and left the memo running. Mara entered a 6-digit code. The phone unlocked. "You remembered it," Nina said. "It was Mom's birthday." The app contained 12 recordings. Most were ordinary reminders. One file was marked 1:47 a.m. Duration 4 minutes, 11 seconds. The file Caleb had once described to other people had been 43 seconds long. Nina leaned closer. "Play it." Mara's finger hovered above the screen. "No." I folded the printed email and placed it back on the box. "You made me promise not to lie to you." "I'm not lying. You're choosing when I'm allowed to know the truth." Her hand tightened around the phone. "Dinner starts in 20 minutes. If we play this now, and it says what I think it says, I won't be able to walk downstairs and act normal. You asked me here because you didn't want to act normal for him anymore. I asked you here because I was afraid." The honesty landed harder than another excuse would have. Nina glanced toward the door. "Take the phone upstairs. Copy everything." Mara shook her head. "If Caleb sees us leave together, he'll know." He already knows too much, I said. A soft click came from the hallway. The archive doorknob moved. Nina killed the light. Someone tested the lock once, then again. Through the narrow gap beneath the door, a pair of polished black shoes stopped on the other side. Caleb's voice came quietly through the wood. Mara? No one answered. I know Nina keeps the archive key. His fingers pressed the handle down. The lock held. I also know what your mother put in that envelope. Mara covered the bright screen with her coat. When he spoke again, the calm had thinned. If Owen hears that recording without context, you will lose more than the property. His footsteps receded. Nina waited until the hall was empty before turning the light back on. Mara stared at the door. He knew the phone was here. I took the device from her and opened the file information. The memo had been created at 1:47 a.m. and ran 4 minutes, 11 seconds. At 3:18 a.m., a copy had been shared to an account ending in @shawadvisory.com. 12 minutes later, a 43-second version was exported, the same length as Caleb's version. Nina photographed the screen with her own phone. Mara caught my sleeve. Owen, there's something in the full recording you need to understand before you hear it. I removed her hand gently. Then tell me now. A dinner bell rang from the main hall. Once, twice. Guests began moving through the corridor toward the dining room. Mara's father called her name from somewhere beyond the kitchen. She picked up the printed email and folded it along its old crease. When I called you that night, she said, Caleb was still in the house. And? He heard everything I said before you arrived. Nina's phone buzzed. A message had reached every member of the family group. Caleb Shaw. Please wait until everyone is seated. There is something Owen deserves the chance to explain. Attached beneath it was an audio file. Duration: 43 seconds. By the time we entered the dining room, Caleb had already arranged the evening. Place cards lined the long table. Henry sat at the head beneath a photograph of the original lodge. 2 bankers occupied the seats to his right. The family attorney kept a leather folder beside her plate. My name was next to Mara's. Caleb's was directly across from us. Nina sat on Mara's other side with her coat folded over her lap. The green phone made a hard rectangle beneath the wool. Henry rose. There you are. His smile reached Mara first, then stopped when it found me. Tyler, her older brother, leaned back. So it's true. Mara threaded her fingers through mine. We were going to tell everyone tonight. 6 months? Tyler asked. Caleb lifted his wineglass without drinking. Mara's grip tightened. Apparently, no one challenged the answer. They simply began rearranging the last 2 years around the possibility that I had been waiting for her. Dinner started with roast beef and a speech from Henry about 40 years of work. He thanked employees, bankers, and family. When he reached Caleb, his voice warmed. You kept this company steady when the rest of us were dealing with personal matters. Mara's fork stopped. Caleb lowered his eyes. It was never just business to me. Under the table, Mara's knees shifted toward mine. I passed her the water before she asked. Tyler noticed. So how did this happen? What? You and Mara. Aunt Diane smiled too brightly. We all want to know. Mara had rehearsed an answer in the truck. Dinner after a service call. Coffee that lasted 3 hours. A first kiss behind an expensive restaurant. She opened her mouth. Caleb spoke first. Maybe Owen should answer. The table quieted. We were friends first, I said. That part everyone knows, Tyler replied. His tone carried an old accusation. Mara put down her fork. Tyler, I'm asking a normal question. No, Caleb said gently. You're asking because the timing is uncomfortable. He made discomfort sound like evidence. Henry rubbed his thumb over his glass. Let's not turn tonight into an interrogation. Caleb nodded. Agreed. Boundaries matter. There it was. The word he had used with my former client. The word that made suspicion sound responsible. A phone chimed near the far end of the table. Then another. Screens lit up beside plates and wine glasses. Nina checked hers and went still. Caleb placed his phone face up. I had hoped not to do this tonight. Henry frowned. Do what? Clarify why I was concerned when I heard Owen was coming. Mara pushed back from the table. You sent that file? I preserved something relevant. You edited it. The banker nearest Henry closed his folder. Caleb glanced toward him. Mara, be careful. A warning wrapped in courtesy. The family attorney leaned forward. What is on the recording? Caleb connected his phone to the speakers. The audio began with Mara crying. My voice followed, rough with sleep. I'm coming to get you. Then a woman who sounded like Mara said, "I knew you would. You've wanted this for years." The file ended. 43 seconds did not prove an affair. It gave everyone enough to build one. Tyler's chair creaked. "Were you seeing her before she left, Caleb?" "No." "Then why does she say that?" "She didn't," Mara said. Caleb turned toward her with visible patience. "You were under enormous emotional strain that night." "I know what I said. You told 3 different versions afterward." Mara flinched. "Henry saw it. Caleb saw him see it." "That's not true," she said. "Which part?" Caleb asked. "The loan? The argument? Or Owen arriving after midnight?" The second banker closed his folder. Caleb had tied the recording to the financing in one sentence. Mara could defend me and force the bank to examine the North property loan before Henry signed the sale. Or she could stay quiet and let the old story settle over me again. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. The pain was not only her silence. It was knowing she had faced this trap before, and once chosen me as the cost of escaping it. The same file had reached my largest client. A message glowed on my phone. "Call me, before this gets worse." I turned it face down. That movement made me look guilty. Aunt Diane lowered her eyes. Henry's senior manager whispered to his wife. The attorney wrote a note and slid it toward a banker. The table began converting accusation into consequence. Mara reached for my sleeve. "Owen, don't." I had not moved, but she knew me. My chair was already angled away. An apology had formed behind my teeth. "Sorry for ruining dinner. Sorry for making the bank nervous. Sorry for being easy to blame." Henry stood. "Owen, I think it would be better if you left." Mara rose so quickly her chair struck the floor. "The road is closed. He can stay in the maintenance building," Tyler said. "It has no heat," Nina snapped. Henry's face hardened. "This is my retirement dinner." Caleb folded his hands. "No one is accusing anyone. I could have told Henry that Caleb had manipulated his daughter, cost me a contract, and brought bankers to a family dinner to pressure her into selling land she wanted to keep. Instead, I reached for my coat. Old habits do not feel like surrender while you are inside them. They feel like the fastest way to stop everyone from looking at you. "I'll go." Mara went pale. "You'll freeze in the truck. I've slept in it before." Henry's expression changed, but not enough. I had given them a truth about myself, and they treated it like another inconvenience. Nina stood. Her coat slid from her lap. The green phone struck the table hard enough to rattle the silverware. "You're not going anywhere." Caleb's chair scraped backward. Nina turned the cracked screen toward the attorney. "This contains the original recording and the export history." Caleb recovered quickly. "A device Mara controlled for 2 years is not evidence. It is a story she had time to rewrite." The attorney's eyes narrowed. Nina unlocked the screen. "Then why did you ask me last summer whether I still had it?" A red line appeared along Caleb's neck. Mara gripped the back of her chair. "Play the full file." Caleb looked toward the bankers. "If you do, they will hear allegations about unauthorized access to loan documents. The bank will be obligated to freeze the transaction until an investigation is complete." Henry stared at the sale papers beside his plate. The North property carried his late wife's name on the original deed. Selling it would clear the company's debt and secure his retirement. Stopping the sale could expose Caleb. It could also break the business before the truth was proven. Caleb had placed Henry's life's work on the other side of Mara's honesty. Henry sat down slowly. "No one plays anything tonight." "Dad?" I said no. The attorney closed her folder. The bankers exchanged a glance. Caleb's composure returned piece by piece. Henry pointed toward the door without looking at me. "Owen, please." This time, I did not apologize, but I still picked up my coat. As I walked past people who had known me since I was 17, not one asked Caleb why a truthful recording frightened him more than a false one. The maintenance building stood 50 yards behind the lodge, beyond the plowed path and the last row of guest cabins. By the time I reached it, snow had worked down my collar. The lock stuck twice before turning. Inside, the air smelled of oil and cold metal. A workbench filled one wall. 2 folding chairs leaned beside a dead refrigerator. The heater Henry had mentioned was not broken. Its gas line had been shut off. I opened the valve and pressed the ignition until blue flame caught behind the grate. My phone rang. The client who had texted me. I let it stop, then set it face down on the bench. The front door struck the wall. Mara came in carrying my coat. "You left this." I noticed. Snow covered her hair and shoulders. She shut the door and dropped the coat beside me. You should answer him. You should go back inside. I'm not leaving you out here. Your father already did. The sentence hit where I meant it to. Mara took one breath and accepted it. While I adjusted the heater, a sharp edge inside the housing caught my knuckle. Blood appeared across my hand. Mara moved immediately. There's a first aid kit. I'm fine. That answer has never meant anything when you say it. She found the white plastic box under the sink, pulled a chair in front of me, and opened an alcohol wipe. Sit. I did. She cleaned the cut. The sting traveled through my fingers, but I did not pull away. Caleb told me what he planned to say about you, she said. When? The morning after I called you. He said if I told Dad about the loan, he would claim I invented it because I wanted a reason to leave. Then he said he would tell everyone you had been waiting for me, and you knew people would believe him. Yes. She wrapped gauze around my hand. What did you tell your father? Mara tied the bandage too tightly, noticed, and loosened it. I said you misunderstood why I called. What does that mean? I told Dad I was upset, that you thought I wanted to leave Caleb, but I had only needed somewhere to calm down. You told him I made it into something more. Yes. The heater fan began pushing warm air across the floor. That cost me $70,000. I know. No. You know the number now. You knew the lie then. Her hands dropped. I was trying to keep the bank from freezing the company accounts. So you gave them me. I gave them the version that kept everything standing. Everything except my name. Mara pressed her palms together. I thought I would fix it when Mom recovered. She died 3 months later. Yes. And then? Dad was barely functioning. Tyler was covering payroll. Every week there was another reason not to tear it open. Reasons are not choices. I know. Stop saying that. Her shoulders drew back. I knew you would survive it, she said. There it was. The calculation beneath the fear. You had your business. People trusted you. I told myself Caleb's story might hurt you, but it would not destroy you. You decided how much damage I could afford. Yes. And then you came to my workshop because you needed me again. Her eyes filled, but she did not use tears as an answer. Yes. The honesty repaired nothing. It only removed the last place she could hide. My phone rang again. Mara picked it up and held it toward me. Answer him. You think one call fixes this? No. I think not answering helps Caleb finish what he started. I stared at the client's name. The Ellis family had given me a basement, an apprenticeship, and a version of home when I had none. Every time one of them hurt me, I told myself gratitude required silence. I lied to you too, I said. Mara waited. When the Breyer contract disappeared, I said it was postponed because I didn't want you to choose between defending me and keeping your family together. I should have chosen. I made sure you didn't have to. She rose. You protected me so you could stay. The accuracy made me angry. I was afraid that if I made Henry face what happened, I'd lose all of you. So we both used your silence. I gave a short laugh. That may be the first honest thing either of us has said tonight. Mara stepped closer. Snow melted from her hair. One drop ran along her temple. I brushed it away before I thought better of it. Her breath caught. My hand remained beside her face. For years, we had escaped moments like this with a joke. Neither of us tried. Mara placed her palm against my chest. I did not ask you here only because I was afraid of Caleb. My body understood before my mind allowed it. I know. I chose you because when I imagine a life where I do not have to explain why I'm scared, you're already in it. A few inches separated us. After the dining room and the recording, kissing her would have felt like surrendering the truth to Caleb's version. I covered her hand with mine and removed it from my chest. Not tonight. Pain crossed her face. Because you don't want me? Because I do. I placed the brass room key in her palm. If anything happens between us, it cannot begin as proof that he was right. He wasn't. Then we don't get to act like he was. Mara curled her fingers around the key. I want to fix what I did. You cannot fix it by choosing me now. What do I do? Correct the story when it costs you something. The phone rang again. This time, I answered. My client said the hotel board had suspended my contract until they completed a conduct review. Mara heard every word. When the call ended, she reached for me, then stopped herself. That restraint hurt more than comfort would have. Outside, headlights moved between the trees. A dark sedan left the lodge despite the storm. That's the bank attorney, Mara said. My phone vibrated with an email. To notice of temporary suspension. Another message followed from Nina. Dad moved the signing to 8 tomorrow morning. Then, Caleb has the sale papers in his room. Mara tightened her fist around the key until its teeth pressed into her skin. He thinks tonight broke us. No, he thinks it made us easier to manage. For the first time, Mara did not ask me to protect her. She asked, "Will you help me stop the sale?" I read every line of the suspension notice before answering. "I'll help you find the truth." Her mouth trembled. "That isn't the same thing." "No," I said. "It isn't. And this time, that difference matters." The maintenance building had one desk, one working outlet, and no privacy. Mara stood beside the heater while I opened my laptop. Nina arrived 10 minutes later, with the green phone, the printed email, and a charger wrapped around her wrist. "Dad moved the signing into the conference room," she said. "Caleb has Tyler guarding the file cabinet." "Guarding it?" Mara asked. "Tyler thinks you're trying to sabotage the sale." Mara closed her eyes once. "Of course he does." I connected the phone to my laptop and copied the recording, the export history, and every document in the old message folder. 3 backups. One on my drive, one sent to Nina, one uploaded to a secure account Mara could not access alone. She watched the progress bar. "You don't trust me with the only copy. I don't trust any one person with it." The distinction mattered. She nodded. My phone vibrated before the upload finished. An email from my insurance carrier informed me that 2 commercial clients had requested confirmation that I was not under investigation for misconduct. Until I answered, my liability renewal would remain pending. Without that renewal, I could not legally send my crews onto 3 active job sites Monday morning. I called my foreman, Luis. He answered on the second ring. "Tell me this is nonsense." "It is." "That's not what I asked." I leaned against the desk. 2 clients paused work. Insurance is reviewing the complaint. A wrench slipped from a shelf behind me and struck the floor. Mara had bumped it with her elbow. She picked it up and held it too tightly. Luis lowered his voice. "Can we make payroll if the hotel doesn't pay Friday?" I opened the company account on my screen. "Yes, for 1 week. Maybe 2 if I delayed my own mortgage payment and stopped ordering materials. Keep everyone home Monday," I said. "Paid." "Owen." "Paid. I'll call tomorrow." When I ended the call, Mara set the wrench back on the shelf. "I can cover payroll." "No. You're losing money because of me. I'm losing money because Caleb lied, and because I let the lie stand. That still does not make me your employee. It makes this my responsibility. Responsibility is telling the truth when it hurts you. It is not buying your way out after it hurts me." Her hands fell to her sides. The upload completed. Nina's phone chimed almost immediately. She read the message, then turned the screen toward Mara. "Ellis hospitality access disabled." Mara pulled out her own phone and opened the company app. Her password failed. The email account rejected her login. A second notification arrived from the payroll system. "User removed by administrator." "Who can do that?" I asked. "Dad, Tyler, or Caleb." Nina swore under her breath. Another email appeared. Notice of emergency board review. The attached resolution accused Mara of compromising confidential banking information and bringing an outside party into a private corporate matter. Until a hearing, she was suspended without pay and prohibited from entering company offices or accessing records. Outside party meant me. Mara read the document twice. "They used the dinner," she said. "They turned what Caleb did into proof that I'm unstable." "No," Nina said. "Dad signed this." Henry's digital signature sat at the bottom. Mara set the phone on the desk instead of throwing it. The control in that movement frightened me more than anger would have. "My apartment belongs to the company," she said. Nina's face changed. "They can't remove you tonight. The lease says employment housing. Suspension triggers a 30-day review." She had lost her salary, her access, and possibly her home in less than an hour. I wanted to tell her she could stay with me. The offer reached the back of my teeth. Then I remembered her hand on my chest, the room key in her palm. Caleb's recording making every kindness between us look like evidence of a plan. Mara saw the words I did not say. "Don't," she whispered. "I wasn't going to." "Yes, you were. I was going to solve the next problem. For me. That is what I do. And that is why we keep ending up here." Nina stepped away, giving us a privacy the building did not have. Mara picked up the brass key from beside my laptop. She must have carried it from room 12. "If I ask you to stay in that room tonight, you'll think I'm using you. I'll know you're scared." "That isn't an answer." "No, I'm not staying there." Her fingers closed over the tag. "Because of the recording?" Because of us. Snow struck the metal roof in waves. I won't be the place you hide while your life collapses, I said. And I won't let you turn one honest night into a reason not to face tomorrow. I'm not asking to hide. You asked me to be your boyfriend because you needed protection. Then you told yourself the feelings underneath made the lie cleaner. Her jaw tightened. That's cruel. It's true. She took the sentence without stepping back. What happens if we stop the sale? She asked. The bank investigates. Your father may lose the refinancing. Employees could miss checks. Your family may blame you. And your business? I deal with my clients. I tell them what happened. If they leave anyway, they leave. You say that like it doesn't scare you. It scares me enough that I want to apologize to Caleb for being inconvenient. Mara's mouth softened despite everything. But you won't. Not this time. Nina returned to the desk with the family attorney's business card. She left it under my plate. On the back, the attorney had written one line. I cannot represent Mara. Call the state banking fraud unit before any signature. Below it was a phone number. Mara stared at the card. If I call, there is no quiet version of this. There was never a quiet version, I said. There was only the version where the noise landed on me. She took out her phone. Before dialing, she called Henry. He answered immediately. Come back to the lodge, he said. I'm with Owen and Nina. A pause. Then put me on speaker. Mara did. Henry's voice filled the cold building. The board suspension is temporary. Sign the sale authorization in the morning, and we can resolve the rest privately. You suspended me without asking what happened. I am protecting the company. From Caleb. From uncertainty. Mara pressed her thumb into the edge of the brass tag. Mom left me that land because she knew you would sell it to save everything else. That is not fair. Neither is using my job and apartment to make me sign. Henry's breath came through the speaker. If the bank freezes our accounts, 73 employees are at risk. Mara's eyes filled. Caleb had chosen the number well. Not land, not money. 73 people whose names she knew. Her old reflex was visible in the way her shoulders curved toward the phone. I'm sorry, she began. Then she stopped. The apology remained unfinished. I will not sign documents connected to a loan I did not authorize, she said. I am reporting the access tonight. Henry's voice hardened. If you do this, do not come back into the lodge. Nina covered her mouth. Mara held the key so tightly a small red mark appeared in her palm. Then room 12 is yours. She placed the brass key on the desk. Henry ended the call. No one moved for several seconds. Mara dialed the number on the attorney's card. While she waited for the fraud unit to answer, I opened the maintenance cabinet and found 2 army blankets, a camp cot, and a space heater with a frayed cord. I began repairing the cord, not because it would fix her life, because the temperature was dropping, and truth did not make the night less cold. The fraud investigator answered on the 4th ring. Mara gave her name, the company name, and the lodge address. Her voice stayed steady until the woman asked one question. Did you ever give Mr. Shaw your login credentials? Mara's thumb stopped against the brass key. I gave him temporary access once. I turned from the heater. Did you approve the North property loan? No. Did you know he was using your credentials for it? Not at first. The phrase changed the shape of the night. The investigator told her to preserve every device and prepare a sworn statement. An emergency review could stop the sale, but there was a complication. If company records were removed without authorization, Mr. Shaw may claim the evidence was stolen or altered. Do not destroy or return anything without documenting the transfer. Nina lowered her head. After the call, Mara faced her. How did you get the phone out of the archive? My employee badge. You said you used a key. I packed it with Mom's photographs after the funeral. Last month, when Caleb started asking about it, I moved the envelope into the North property box. The green phone lay between them. Nina had protected the evidence by changing its location. She had also given Caleb a way to call it stolen. A vehicle stopped outside. Headlights swept across the metal walls. Tyler entered with a county deputy and the lodge's security manager. Give me the phone. Mara moved in front of the desk. It belongs to me. It was stored with company records. The deputy raised one hand. I'm documenting a complaint. Nothing is to leave the property. Caleb sent you, Nina said. Dad did, Tyler replied. He placed a board notice on the desk. It accused Mara of unauthorized access, removal of corporate property, and interference with a lawful sale. My name appeared below hers. Outside contractor Owen Brooks may have assisted or coerced the suspended employee. Coerced. Caleb had upgraded me from opportunist to threat. Messages filled my screen. One client canceled Monday's service. Another requested my crews be removed. Luis wrote that the notice had appeared in a local business group. Luis sent a second message beneath the cancellation notices. One of the apprentices had asked whether I had been sleeping with Mara while she was engaged. Another wanted to know whether the company would survive the week. The accusation had left the dining table and entered the place where 6 people depended on me to remain employable. Mara read the messages over my shoulder. "I'm sorry," she said. The old response rose immediately. "It's fine." I swallowed it. "No, it isn't." She nodded once and did not ask me to comfort her. Mara's phone lit with messages from relatives. Aunt Diane asked her to stop punishing Henry. A cousin wrote that private heartbreak should not be allowed to endanger other families. Tyler saw the screen. "They are right about one thing. This is no longer only about you." Mara began typing an apology to the family group. Her thumb hovered above send. Then she erased it. "I can be They are afraid without admitting Caleb is telling the truth," she said. Tyler pointed at the phone. "This ends if you hand it over." "No," Mara said. "You're risking 73 jobs because you cannot accept that Caleb knows more about the company than you do. He used my login. You gave it to him." Caleb appeared in the doorway without a coat. Snow darkened his sweater, the first untidy thing I had ever seen on him. "Tyler, this does not need an audience." Nina lifted the phone. "We have the original recording." Caleb answered too quickly. 4 minutes of panic won't change what she did. Nina tilted the screen toward him. "We never told you how long it was." A red patch climbed above his collar. He smoothed one cuff. "I heard it 2 years ago. You said Mara controlled the device," I said. "Now you remember the exact length." Caleb turned to me. "You are destroying your business for a woman who lied to you." Another message appeared from my insurer. Coverage review escalated. Tyler watched me read it. "Make a statement. Say Mara asked you to remove the phone. Dad will tell the board you cooperated." The offer was built for me. One apology. One path back to work, if I let the blame settle where Caleb wanted it. I opened a blank email. My involvement in tonight's events was personal and unauthorized. Mara Ellis acted under significant emotional strain. The sentence sounded reasonable. It also sounded like Caleb. Mara reached toward the laptop, then stopped. "You decide," she said. "If I sent it, clients might return and my crew might keep working." Mara would carry the accusation, but part of it was true. I had spent years calling that trade loyalty. It was fear with better manners. I deleted the draft. Tyler exhaled. "Owen, don't be stupid. I'm done making lies easier to file." Mara picked up the green phone. "Play it." Nina pressed the file. Mara's crying filled the building. Her younger voice said Caleb had used her password to open the loan portal. Then came the part she had hidden. "I gave him the code last month. Dad was in the hospital, and Caleb said payroll would fail if I didn't. The bank sent an alert. I deleted it because I thought I could fix everything before anyone knew." The deputy glanced toward her. Tyler went pale. My recorded voice asked, "Did you sign anything?" "1 page. He said it only confirmed access." Mara stopped the audio. Caleb spoke softly. "She participated. The recording proves it." "It proves you used her fear," Nina said. "It proves she authorized me." Mara faced the deputy. "I gave him access. I deleted the warning. I signed a page I did not read." Tyler stepped forward. "Stop talking. You need an attorney. I needed one 2 years ago." She opened the investigator's sworn statement form. Henry called Tyler. His voice carried through the speaker. "The bank suspended tomorrow's signing." Relief crossed Nina's face. "They also froze the company credit line pending review." Tyler gripped the phone. "Payroll is in 6 days." Caleb's mask slipped. "You called them before verifying anything?" Mara raised her eyes. "You were worried about the truth 5 minutes ago. Now you're worried about the credit line. That line keeps this place open, and the land covers what you moved." Caleb stepped toward her. The deputy blocked him with one arm. Anger stripped the polish from his face. "You have no idea what you just did." Mara signed the statement. "I know exactly what I did before. That's why I'm not hiding this part." She submitted it. My phone rang. "Luis, our bank froze the business line," he said. "We cannot cover payroll Friday without the hotel payment." Mara heard him. She did not offer money or ask me to save her. Instead, she surrendered the green phone into an evidence bag after Nina emailed verified copies to the investigator. The deputy sealed it and wrote the time across the label. Caleb watched the phone disappear. Calculation replaced the anger. As Tyler escorted him toward the lodge, Caleb glanced back. By morning, everyone who works for either of you will know whose choice cost them their paycheck. The door closed. A minute later, every Ellis hospitality employee received a company-wide email. So did every person on my crew. Subject: Operational crisis caused by Mara Ellis and Owen Brooks. At 7:20 the next morning, Henry called an emergency company meeting in the lodge dining room. Department heads filled the chairs from the night before. Luis sat near the back with two of my crew members. The bank investigator joined by video beside the fireplace. Henry's attorney stood near the windows with a yellow legal pad. Caleb had taken my old seat across from Mara. The brass key to room 12 lay beside Henry's hand. Henry began without a greeting. The credit line remains frozen. Payroll is due in 6 days. We need a factual account of what happened. Caleb folded his hands. I agree. He sounded rested, controlled. The red mark at his collar was gone. Mara sat beside Nina with no company badge, laptop, or title card. I remained standing near the end of the table. Henry pointed to an empty chair. Sit down, Owen. I'm fine here. Caleb gave a sympathetic smile. This is the posture I warn people about. He turns every conversation into a confrontation. A few employees shifted. Luis kept both hands around his coffee. Henry's attorney spoke. The state investigator has the original phone, verified copies of the recording, and Miss Ellis's statement. The bank has also produced access logs for the North Property Loan Portal. Caleb nodded as if the information helped him. Mara gave me her credentials. She signed the authorization page. Regret does not make a transaction fraudulent. Mara leaned forward. I gave you access. Caleb's smile sharpened. But she lifted one hand. No. I need to say this correctly. Every face turned toward her. I gave Caleb my password because my father was in the hospital, and he told me payroll would fail without it. I deleted a security warning because I was afraid. I signed a page I did not read. Henry's jaw tightened. Those were my choices, she continued. Caleb used my fear, but I helped him by hiding what I had done. Caleb sat back. Thank you. That is the first complete statement you've made. It is not complete. She faced the employees. When Caleb told people Owen pushed me to end the engagement, I let that story stand. I told my father Owen misunderstood why I called. I knew that was false. A murmur moved through the chairs. Owen lost work because I chose the company over correcting the lie. I asked him here because I was afraid Caleb would corner me again. I used someone I trusted as protection after I had already failed to protect his name. She turned toward me. I'm sorry. The apology was not enough. It was also no longer hidden. Caleb reached for his water. This is emotional. It does not prove criminal intent. I'm not finished, the attorney said. Bank records appeared on the screen. The login using Mara's credentials came from Caleb's office computer at 2:14 a.m. The electronic signature followed 11 minutes later. At 2:32, the recovery email changed from Mara's address to an account controlled by Shaw Advisory. The report also explained how Caleb had known I was coming before Mara asked me. On Tuesday, at 9:02 a.m., his administrator account had opened a private note in Mara's company cloud. The note contained 2 lines. Ask Owen to come. 6 months sounds believable. He had read the plan 3 days before she walked into my workshop. The attorney advanced to a board consent form bearing Henry's and Tyler's digital signatures. Henry frowned. We never held that vote. Tyler pushed away from the table. I never signed that. Caleb answered too quickly. It was a backup consent prepared in case the formal minutes were delayed. The investigator leaned closer. No one said it was a backup. Caleb's mouth remained open for half a second. Then the mask returned. That is standard terminology. The metadata lists Caleb Shaw as the creator, the attorney said. Caleb turned toward Mara. You knew the company was insolvent. I made a decision nobody else was willing to make. You forged a vote, Mara said. I protected 73 jobs. You used them as a shield. And you froze their paychecks to punish me. Employees began talking over one another. Caleb raised his voice. This is what she does. She creates chaos, then finds a man willing to validate it. His hand struck the table. The glass beside him tipped and shattered. No one moved to clean it. Caleb pointed at me. He has wanted her since high school. Every decision he made was about getting into her life. Mara started to rise. I held out one hand. Let me. She sat back. For 2 years, other people had discussed my motives, while I tried to make myself easy to defend. I stepped closer. Yes, I said. I loved her. Caleb's expression brightened. Before she left you. Before that call. Before this weekend. And I still told her to speak to an attorney. I still asked whether she had signed anything. I still took her to Nina's house instead of mine. The full recording confirms that, the investigator said. Caleb waved toward the screen. A recording she controlled. The original file was not altered, the investigator replied. The 43-second version was exported through software licensed to Shaw Advisory. Caleb's eyes moved toward the sealed evidence bag. Who gave you the full export history? No one had said they possessed export history from his system. The investigator stopped typing. Henry raised his head. Caleb realized the mistake too late. You cannot prove I sent that file. Nina held up her phone. The family message came from your number. It could have been forwarded. Louise stood and raised a printed header report. The company email blaming Owen and Mara was scheduled from Caleb's account 12 minutes before the credit line was frozen. Caleb turned on him. You had no right to inspect that. Louise shrugged. You emailed my crew. Henry pressed both palms against the table. Did you forge the consent? Caleb ignored him and stared at Mara. After everything I kept together for this family, you choose him? There it was. Not the company. Not the employees. Him. Mara stayed seated. This is not about choosing Owen. It has always been about him. No, I said. You needed it to be. Caleb faced me. You didn't expose what I wanted. You exposed how badly you needed everyone to distrust her. His argument lost the room. He glanced toward Henry, Tyler, and the employees who had stopped watching Mara. Henry's attorney asked security to escort Caleb out until the investigation concluded. Caleb grabbed the forged consent. The attorney pulled it from his hand. Do not touch evidence. You think removing me fixes this? He snapped. The company still cannot make payroll. Henry spoke quietly. We will deal with what is true. Caleb's gaze returned to Mara. You will come back when this collapses. She did not answer. Broken glass cracked beneath his shoe as security led him away. At the door, he turned to me. She will cost you everything. Maybe he was right about the cost. He was wrong about the reason. I'm not here to win her, I said. I'm here because you used my silence as evidence. Caleb left. No one applauded. The credit line remained frozen. My contracts were still suspended. 73 employees still needed paychecks. Henry picked up the brass key. I owe both of you. Mara stopped him. Not yet. She faced the staff. We have 6 days. Sell my company shares before you sell Mom's land. Use the proceeds for payroll. I will cooperate with the investigation and resign from the board. Henry's fingers closed around the key. That could leave you with nothing. It leaves me with what is mine. Then she turned toward me without reaching for my hand. She had told the truth where it cost her something. I had defended myself without asking her to become the prize at the end of it. Neither choice repaired what came next. But when Luis crossed the dining room, he did not ask whether Mara and I had been sleeping together. He handed me Caleb's printed email. Tell me what you need from us to fight this properly. 6 months later, the brass key still lived in the center console of my truck. I had meant to return it when investigators stopped the North property sale. When Henry reopened the lodge credit line using his house as collateral, and when Mara moved from the company apartment into a rental above a bookstore, each time I drove past the lodge with the key beside loose screws and electrical tape. Each time I kept going. Caleb was under civil investigation for fraud and forgery. No one had put him in handcuffs. His attorney called the loan documents a misunderstanding between business partners. That word still tightened my shoulders. The Ellis company survived, but not cleanly. Mara sold her shares. Henry sold 2 cabins and canceled the expansion. Payroll cleared 1 day late. 3 department heads left anyway. Tyler sent 1 apology by email. It used the phrase "under the circumstances" 4 times. I never answered. My insurer renewed the policy after confirming the audio had been altered. 2 clients returned. 1 did not. The Briar County Hotel hired someone else. Luis said losing work did not mean losing the truth. He was right. It still felt like losing work. Mara and I did not begin dating when Caleb left the dining room. We spent 7 weeks speaking only about lawyers, documents, and payroll. Then we spent 3 weeks not speaking at all. The distance was my decision. She accepted it without asking Nina to defend her or sending food to my workshop until I gave in. That mattered more than another apology. In April, a postcard arrived at my office. No confession, no request, just her new address in one sentence. There is a light in the kitchen that flickers, but I am learning not to call you every time something scares me. I kept it in my desk for 4 days. Then I drove to Montpelier with a toolbox, and no promise about what would happen after I fixed the light. Her kitchen had a chipped yellow table and 2 mismatched chairs. She made coffee while I removed the switch plate. You know I could have hired someone. You wrote to an electrician. I wrote to Owen. That costs extra. Her laugh caught halfway out. She covered her mouth, as if laughter in a small space might still be used against her. I noticed. So did she. Neither of us pretended otherwise. When the light stopped flickering, she placed a mug near my hand. Oat milk, no sugar. I remember. I know. We sat at the yellow table. She told me Henry had asked her to return as a consultant. She refused. Nina was handling the investigation. Tyler had started seeing what he called a leadership coach. I told her one apprentice had left because his parents feared the scandal would damage his future. I did not turn it into a joke. Mara listened without promising to make it right. Some things could not be repaired by the people who broke them. We began carefully. Dinner once a week. No staying overnight. No invented history. When she grew quiet, I asked whether she needed time or wanted to speak. When I solved problems she had not given me, she told me to stop. Sometimes I stopped badly. Sometimes she told the truth late, and admitted it was late. Progress was less graceful than either of us expected. In June, Henry invited me to the lodge. I nearly declined. My hand stayed on the steering wheel after I parked. Through the windshield, the dining room windows reflected the lake. No snow, no bankers, no Caleb. My body still remembered 20 faces turning toward me. Henry met me on the porch. I owe you an apology. Yes. The answer surprised him. He rubbed one thumb across the railing. I treated your silence as proof you had nothing important to say. You treated it as permission. He nodded. I did. I did not tell him I forgave him. He did not ask. Before I left, he held out his palm. The key to 12 is missing. I reached into my pocket. The brass tag was scratched. The number had darkened around the edges. Mara came through the door carrying a box of her mother's photographs. Henry glanced between us. You kept it? I forgot to return it. Mara studied my face, not the key. Henry closed my fingers around it. Return it when you are ready. He went inside. Mara and I walked to the lake. The old dock had been repaired, but one board near the end still bent under our weight. We sat with the photograph box between us. She found a picture of her mother beside the north property sign, laughing into the wind. The land had not been sold. It was not safe forever either. Mara slid the picture back into its envelope. I still hear that recording sometimes, she said. In your head? When someone says I'm overreacting. When Dad pauses before he believes me. I turn the key in my palm. I still notice when people stop talking after I enter. What do? Sometimes I leave. She did not tell me to be stronger. Her shoulder rested against mine. After a while, I placed the key on the box. Mara touched the metal tag. That key opened a room, she said. It didn't give either of us the right to stay. No. And it doesn't mean we have to go back. No. She waited. The old version of me would have given her the answer that made the moment easier. Instead, I said, I want to stay today. Warmth moved through her expression, but she did not turn it into forever. Today is enough. She kissed me once slowly, without an audience, and without asking the moment to promise more than it could. We carried the photographs back together. At the entrance, one employee went quiet when he recognized me. My chest tightened. Mara did not take my hand to prove anything. She simply kept walking at my pace. Some people do not damage your life by shouting. They do it by building a version of you that feels easier for everyone else to believe. And sometimes the person who helps you survive is not the one who fixes everything. It is the one who finally says, no, that is not what happened, and then leaves enough space for you to speak next. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments. Have you ever had to fight for the truth of your own life? And if you want more stories like this, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.